Again, welcome, the one, the only L3 IRD here, the bird, getting in some words, just introing the most, probably epic, probably prolific episode of Learning League. It is the 24th episode of the month of October the 10th. October the 15th. It's actually, 5 days after the 10th, but, it's happened. We're done with season 2. We're actually over with season 2, and we're about to get done with pretty much this meta of just awesomeness that just happened during this lasting championships. But first, we want to begin by thanking Definitive eSports. You can go check them out at D-eSports.com. Do all the coverages like League of Legends, EVE Online, StarCraft 2, and also the one, the only Dare 2, and all the other awesomeness like CSGO and stuff like that. But we also want to make a big thanks coming out to our sponsors, XMG, Antec, Triton, BenQ, and Mad Cats. Today's episode will be the end of the Shifting Meta series, and unfortunately, it'll be the end of Season 2 as well. And we'll cover what you summoners need to finish off that Season 2 strong, as well as delve into the last 2 days of the one, the only season, or the Season 2 World Finals / Championships. The end is not always sweet, but getting to the finish makes us more aware of the accomplishments Riot / League / us have done this season. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is actually Season 2 from the beginning to the end. Just the changes that actually happened during the whole season as well. You can check out all the changes on timeline.leagueoflegends.com, which is actually the first time we actually got introduced to this timeline over here. Was actually the Season 2 start almost, the end of Season 1, where they kind of ended with a bang, and it was really, really cool to see who won at GamePack / Fnatic / the Season 1 champions. If you guys know, yeah, Fnatic should be on that little World Cup trophy, but say la vie. The first thing that really happened during the Season 2 start was the jungle change and the mastery change. We switched over all the masteries from where it was before. Oh man, hold on, let me check if there's a guide. Oh man, I actually don't think there's any more guides that are out there for Season 1, but yeah, there's so it was so different back then when you could have, I think, Allerkey on top of damage and top of armor pen, not really all into one little area and all mixed around kind of weirdly. I think the biggest thing that really happened was the buff duration one. That was really hard to get placed into once we started redefining that 21.9, 21.09, 921. All that was really the most optimal in Season 2. Yeah, that was a big thing. Also the crit strike damage, or the crit chance damage, or crit chance, sorry. Yeah, that got removed. That was a really important thing to get removed off of the Master Tree as well. Gangplank OP. Other than that, the jungle change, we had the damage mitigation from all the jungle creeps, the actual health and mana regen we got from the jungle creeps as well. That was actually pretty big, as well as just the respawn times, where the double golems, wraiths, wolves used to respawn I think every 3 minutes. They respawn every 1 minute now. Buffs still respawn every 5, but they were so much tougher back then. Now they're not as tough, which also made a change for most people who were jungling Rammus, jungling Nunu per se as well. I mean, Nunu was really strong back then, still pretty strong as a jungler right now. Rammus not so much, just because it took so long to get your buffs, so long to get your actual jungle creeps, that if you could counter jungle really fast like Shyvana as well, you could probably do pretty well overall. But yeah, other than that, we added the awesome 80 Graves. That was a big addition as well. Once we got away from the Caitlyn Tark meta, that was very cool to see. I mean, Caitlyn Tark was awesome, but Graves made that a little bit different. And then when Graves became a big thing during Season 2, we saw the addition of Corki and Ezreal back into the fray, even though they were Season 1 champions. They changed the meta as well. And now we have this Holy Trinity that actually started off as not really at the beginning of Season 2, but in the beginning-ish of Season 2 when Moscow 5 introduced Misfortune as well. Like the Holy Trinity was Graves, Misfortune, and Tristana actually back then. And now at the end of Season 2 in the championships as well, the Holy Trinity is actually Graves, Ezreal, and Corki. Holy Trinity meaning the top 1 tier AD carries, which is what I'll talk about as well. But there's AP carries as well that had to get rotated as well. Sadly, we saw Ari added onto the mix. We saw Victor, Ziggs, stuff like that. Like they promoted this kind of meta for Season 2 that you want to be aggressive, but you also want to push down as hard. So like farming champions like Karthus, like Zillion, didn't see as much play until Karthus came in and stayed alive and such, and Nivea came in and stayed alive and such. But like Zillion, LeBlanc, some of those other whole Season 1 champions that I will not name because I can't remember right now that were played. Yeah, I mean, they all got kind of obsolete brand. There you go. And that's all because the changes to the game, the skill sets of both AD carries, AP carries, all the roles separately changed how League of Legends was played. And we got to this, well, the start of Season 2, it was more of a tanky bruiser kind of meta, where a lot of tanky bruisers were pretty strong. With Elise, and they had, who else was on top lane at the beginning? Singe and stuff like that. Those are like the tanky bruisers. And we had these damagey bruisers like Darius, Rengar, Kha'Zix. Like you have that all added in. Now we have this kind of notion of assassin versus sustain or tankiness again, and Fizz, Diana, and those kind of champions as well, AP assassins as well, really added to the mix of what you can see at the top lane, what kind of matchups you see as well for that little thing. Other than that, we added small little aesthetic things like spectator mode. Finally getting into League of Legends really helped and changed the world of League of Legends and helped grow. Not really streamers per se, because Darius and all of them kind of lost viewers because of spectator mode. I kind of assume / I kind of see it from all the switch over from Twitch TV and blah 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 blah. But also as well, spectator mode added in the spectate live like top matches as well, so you can see Hotshot GG from your own spectator mode and stuff like that. And that really changed the kind of dynamic as well for pretty much League of Legends summoners, League of Legends casts, and everything as well. And it really expanded the market for me personally as a caster, but also expanded the market as us as players, just because we're learning a lot more from our own eyes. We're seeing the map, we're seeing what they're doing in solo queue or even in tournament games per se as well. So spectator mode, that was a big thing. Colorblind mode, a little small aesthetic, helped a lot of people out with the harsh images on the colors and such like that. And the last two things that got added on, Dominion and Proving Grounds, the maps got added in. Dominion was actually in the beginning of Season 2. Proving Grounds kind of near the end of Season 2, the ARAM map, pretty cool. And the Honor System, which is pretty much the defining end of Season 2, which is actually a pretty cool kind of system as well. Overall, Season 2 was a pretty strong development of the game. I think before Season 1 in alpha and beta stages, a lot of people were saying it was kind of stagnant, kind of like a Dota, kind of not innovative per se. And in Season 2, they, well, in a way they tried to bring it more creative, more interesting tactics and such like that, Syndra, Rengar, Kha'Zix, and all that stuff. But overall they did a pretty decent job with their their development, stuff like that. But they also did a really good job to cater to the fans as well, and especially to me who likes playing League of Legends and who likes seeing the games online as well, esports and stuff like that. They really boosted that up super strongly. So congrats to them on that little notion. What's in store for the end of season 2? So if you don't know, season 2 is ended, but it's not actually over yet. It'll end around the 23rd or the 24th of October. Do you know you do have a time because of unfortunate circumstances at season 2 championships? There's a double IP boost weekend, pretty much October 20th to the 21st. You'll get that little bit of awesomeness. So play some games when you can, and get your elo right before 23rd, 24th, because yeah, if you don't have your elo on that time, well, it's gonna be kind of hard for season 3 to start. So there you go with that. Other than that, if you don't have the ribbon skin, the code's right here and such like that, and I can link you this little link if anything as well for that. So 2 things that have changed, I guess, from season 1 to season 2 is that kind of poke, kind of push into the lane, kind of win kind of status. And what you're seeing here is actually a disagreement with that. Poke was actually pretty strong, but Poke was a very season 1-esque kind of season 1 strat. Most of everybody knows CLGNA, and most of everybody knows about Hotshot Nidalee, or Hotshot GG's Nidalee, and also the awesomeness of the CLGNA push strat, which takes about 50 minutes to win a game. I mean, I think TSM was noted, but I think Reginald was noted that saying like, we don't like playing CLG NA back in the day, just because you know you're going to be staying in the game for about 40 to 50 minutes, and you know it could go still really close even at the end. Which, I mean, given to CLG NA, that means that is kind of the way to win out, and that's kind of how it was. So it really worked out for them, and technically it worked out for solo queue as well, especially with Caitlyn Tarek was one of the most, I wouldn't say banned out kind of duos, but one of the most played duos at that bottom lane, which really discouraged aggression per se, because Caitlyn Tarek was pretty strong and could poke really well, but also really pushed, not really fast, but good fast. We saw a really good shift onto it when we first saw Talon. Talon was pretty OP, as Donkey would say, in the beginning of the season 2. He had that rake, which was like a 5-second cooldown with 50 mana, so it costed like no mana, plus it was super low, and you could spam out an AoE nuke pretty much every little 5 seconds. That was pretty strong. But overall, the Assassins was the really big change in that meta for both top lane and middle lane. Once Fizz got added on, and I mean also onto Rengar and such like that, it helped out change the defining meta of season 2, and it really changed to where you want to be aggressive, where you want to push and stuff. I think it added on to what happened in OG and winter or fall. Sorry, I think it's fall. The first series of OG or spring, yeah, spring. It really defined like, oh, what we have to do is actually just push and we'll win games, or oh, we just take towers and just kind of make it force that, you know, having a 2v1 advantage really changed the meta as well. I mean, it's now kind of standard play now in tournament games where you have that 2v1 kind of switch out to the lane swap. But back then, season 1 to season 2, like even at the middle of season 2, we had no idea until Azubu Blaze fought TSM, and you know, it changed that kind of whole dynamic in that little mixture as well. So yeah, that are the big 2 things that really changed in League of Legends. Other than that, the playability, mostly if you didn't have an escape ability, like Vayne's Tumble is pretty good. Kog'Maw wasn't really played as much because he doesn't have an escape ability. He had Ezreal with Arcane Shift, he had Graves with Quick Draw. Those 2 kind of changed that more people in solo queue and in regular playing games wanted more maneuverability in fights, and it stopped away a lot of people from playing like Zillion, like Brand as well at middle, and changed over to like Fizz, changed over to like I'm just out of my mind right now, Ziggs a little bit as well, because Ziggs did have a kind of decent decent way of surviving out as well with the satchel charge. But overall, just a really different style of stagnant push, get CS, who has more gold in 15 minutes and wins. And now in where it's aggression, get into the jungles, counter jungle. If you can catch, you kind of win. You can just take advantages if you kind of win. It's a lot more prone to human error, a lot more prone to exciting, more exciting games. So that's why Season 2 now, where League of Legends is, compared to where Season 1 kind of ended, it's a lot better than what it was before. But overall, I think Season 2/Season 3 will probably start up a really good discussion on who is the actual team to watch out for. We do know the results of Season 2 championships, and we are not actually going to go to a break for everything. We're just going to go through this and say Season 2 playoffs, the recap/the reaction of TPA winning out the Season 2 World Championships. Overall, I think TPA is a really strong team, and I think overall they have probably 3 of the top 5 players in the world, maybe 4 of the top 5 players in the world, and it really showed on the Season 2 World Finals. Sorry. What we're going to be looking at today is not actually the World Finals. I'm going to not link you to it, but you can probably find it online. I would just watch the World Finals just overall in general to see and really take in what happened during the World Finals and such like that. But what I'm going to be looking at is the semifinal matchups of both TPA and Azubu Frost. Azubu Frost, again, we will recap both teams' stories again. Azubu Frost was a really strong team coming in. They were called MIG Frost when they came in the OGN Winter League, or Spring League, sorry about that. And they got to the finals, and they were favored to win it all. They were favored to be the best team in the world. But they lost to their brother team, Azubu Blaze, and Azubu Blaze took the first championship in Korea / took a really big sting to MIG Frost, known as MIG Frost back then. They switched out Loco Doco, the AD carry of MIG Frost back then, and they put Gunwoong, who was actually the top laner, to that bot lane and added Shy to the list. Overall, in general, they won out OGN Champions Summers League 2012, and then they kind of proved themselves that they were really in this to win it for pretty much Season 2. What we're watching right now, Taipei Assassins, not really a known commodity in the world. No, they knew about Stanley, who was a really good player of top lanes, of every kind of top lane there is. They knew about Mistake through the World Invitational of Riot, but they didn't really know anything too much else about them, other than they crushed Guardian Pro League. They really crushed it, like I think 21-5 it was their record overall, and they really crushed their opponents whenever they won in that Guardian Pro League. Other than that, TPA weren't really scouted out too much, because again, they didn't really show off any techniques, any kind of play styles or anything. They didn't like let you have a finished game. Actually, if the game was about to end, they wanted to say, you know, both teams had to disconnect / log off, so they wouldn't have the match history known about what they played and such. And overall, TPA, even coming into the Season 2 World Finals, they didn't really expect themselves to actually win, per se, until they had that momentum, until they had this match from TPA versus Moscow 5. This is Game 2 of the Moscow 5 matchup. Moscow 5 was up one game during this, and they showed TPA that, you know, they should be worried. They should be worried about Moscow 5, and a lot of the Western world said, you know, Moscow 5 is going to win this easy, just because, you know, TPA, newer team per se, and they aren't as well connected per se. We didn't know per se as well, because, you know, we haven't seen them in play. That's why we thought Western world Moscow 5 pretty much was going to win this, no problem. Little did we know that TPA Game 2, Game 3, they were the underdogs, and they wanted to kind of show off to the world that they had pretty much the game in hand. And then this one, they used the Season 1 strat, and most teams who actually won their games from the game 2. They used Season 1 strats, or they used very, very, very awesome global ultimate strategies as well. But overall, they used Season 1 strats to kind of come back into this poke, plus you have the hyper carry of Baby who's playing that Vayne. You had poke with Stanley on that Nidalee, and mostly the disruption that Nidalee is doing as well for Moscow 5 really sealed the deal for game number 2. For game number 3, and again it was another poke kind of thing, but they were just outmatched. M5 couldn't really do too much to TPA. I mean, there's like a little instance for M5 to come back into it, but it was just all for naught, and they could not do anything about it. Again, this is not M5 saying, you know, they were kind of down on themselves per se, because we saw that against CLG EU versus M5. I think it wasn't the Season 2 regionals. It was, I think it was DreamHack, the IM before that, where CLG EU won that. But yeah, I feel like Moscow 5 kind of faltered there and kind of lost sight of where they were at. While in this game, they kind of got outmatched. And once game 2 happened and, you know, the push strat came in, M5 was like saying, well, this is just a new game for game 3. It's best of 1. We'll just get into it. And they just could not get into the game, period, actually, throughout the whole kind of series. So in general, TPA, team play, very strong. Champion pool, pretty wide, and you can't really ban them out too much. But overall, TPA just knew what to get hot on and knew what to do during the tournament situation. And in tournament situations in general, you know, you don't really take records to account. You don't really take anything from behind to account. You just kind of play, and then you just try to win as much as you can. Just because, you know, a tournament is a new kind of setting. A season is something that you have to build off on. A playoff game is something that you have to build off on. But a tournament is a very new experience for everybody, and anything can happen. And literally that's what happened for TPA. They really just owned it up in the second game, really had this confidence coming in from it, from that first game where they were pretty down on this list because they got beat pretty hard from M5. But in the end, they did pick it off. So overall, M5 TPA, very strong teams. TPA won out in that semifinals matchup. And again, if you didn't read my recap before, TPA and M5 was kind of the match to look out for. And I feel like that should have been the finals matchup because that showed up a lot more than what AZF and TPA probably could have shown. Not disregarding AZF because Zubufrost is a really strong team, which we'll see right here. Zubufrost, sorry, Zubufrost is a very strong team. Again, I mean, once he switched over to AD carry, it wasn't the safest / the easiest of transitions, but definitely it was a good transition too. And you know, sorry about that. Zubufrost is a really strong team as a team play. They do a lot of just tactics in the jungle to try to just secure more buffs and secure more XP deniation from the teams. And especially for Zubufrost against CLG EU, the second game was the clincher pretty much of denying Snoopy. It was pretty much, they denied Snoopy, they denied Wicked from doing a lot of things, and they changed the game over so that CLGU could not really do anything during the whole phase of this semifinal matchup. First game for CLGU and Zubufrost, so Zubufrost did get killed off of poke comps. Again, Season 1 strat came back in. They used Jace though as the kind of poker instead of Nidalee, and it was super effective, and they couldn't really stop to do anything against the Jace. In game 2, Zubufrost played a pretty aggressive kind of comp, using Ari as the kind of fire starter with that charm. On top of that, used pretty much just the damage overall from Claw Templar onto the jungle of Snoopy. So one thing that changed from Season 1 to Season 2, denying the jungle isn't really that hard per se. It doesn't hurt as hard as it did in season 1, just because of respawns and such like that. But once you do fall behind and the other team, the opposing team, has that kind of timer on yourself, you can fall even further behind because they have the timers on your buffs, they have the timers of your wraiths and such like that. They can just keep on taking it over and over, denying you more XP while they're getting more XP as well. So like in season 1, like, yeah, it hurts that you don't get it as much, but now in season 2, where you can where it respawns faster, it's kind of a detriment as well, because you give them more and more XP while you still fall further and further behind. Again, the teams aren't made by just playing one kind of champion. It's a team game. But once you deny somebody from that team, it's like kind of taking out a part in the car. Like if you take out a tire of a car, well, can't kind of run on 3 wheels per se, maybe. I mean, if you can run on 3 wheels, more props to you. More props to you. But overall, I feel like Azubifrost just used that kind of knowledge and use whatever they could at the lane phase and really worked it out to their advantage. And that's why Azubifrost kind of beat out CLGU through Game 2 and even in Game 3. Getting those little advantages made them really, really strong in that mid game to late game phase. But overall, I feel like I feel like Azubifrost and TPA are the strongest per se in the world, but I feel like Moscow 5 and TPA are the two biggest champions of the game of League of Legends, and something we're going to have to watch out for in Season 2. Or Season 3, sorry about that. But overall, guys, just going to kind of recap everything we talked about for Season 2 / the end of the final countdown. Get your ribbon stuff, get your awesomeness of the Season 2 countdown stuff. Remember that the double IP boost is happening on the 20th and 21st, and Season 2 is ending on the 23rd and 24th of October. So get your stuff. Hopefully you get your awesome gold placard and your Janna skin or whatever. I don't know, but overall just get there so that we can all celebrate together. Otherwise, you know, it's been a long season. It's been a long time since I could say in a interesting game that everything was done pretty much really well, like really strongly. And I really thank Riot Games, League of Legends Summoners, all you guys, all 3 million plus of you guys, if anything. But overall, just really done well. And hopefully we'll see League of Legends still stay out there into the years coming out later for esports and for everyone in the world that are fans of League of Legends. But overall, thank you again for watching episode 24, the final countdown. It has been L3IRD. I want to thank everybody from Definitive Esports again, D-eSports.com, for, you know, helping out, giving coverage to the world of League of Legends / StarCraft 2 / CSGO / EVE Online / everything else on there. But other than that, we also want to thank the awesome people of the sponsors: XNG, Triton, BenQ, Mad Cats, and the one, the only Antec. Other than that, thank you again. It has been L3RD, going to be signing out. It is the last episode of the Shifty Meta series, and it's undetermined, but I think we are going to be working on ELO looking into for the NA server first, and then ELO looking into the EU West server, seeing the differences in both solo queues.